Welcome back to the State of the Ark podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Kason.
We are joined once again by Ivan, also known as Orc Brand. Thanks for
Hello.
being here, man. How are you, by the way? You said you're feeling under the weather. What's up?
Oh, nothing major.
Okay.
Cool.
That's good. Well, we're going to talk about Chapter 3, Neutral, of Tactics Ogre today. We made that choice in the last episode. We rejoined with Duke Ronway and the Wallister, and Vice was pissed about it. He took off. We have Catiua, little narration here for the start of Chapter 3, which is called, the title of Chapter 3 is There Will Be Sacrifices.
There will be. Oof. Very good. I mean, there already have been.
There'll be more?
Many.
There'll be more sacrifices?
Oh, yeah.
more sacred.
A lot more this time? So, first scene here is in Phidoch Castle. This is the Dark Knights. This is where earlier in the game we came with Leonar and Vice and asked them, hey, please don't fight us while we kill the Galgastani.
Are these the Dark Knights, right?
Yeah. So
and
this is
more or less what the intro is saying is that the Dark Knights are holding back and just kind of watching.
Yes. So
making everyone nervous.
To remind everyone of where we left off, Dark Knights attacked Rhyme.
Yeah.
We had arrived there looking for Lanselot, and we got attacked by Sapan. Catiua got kidnapped and taken away, and then these Dark Knights showed up and started attacking the Holy Knights of Zenobia.
It was actually a battle of 4 armies.
Yeah, it kind of was.
A battle of 4 armies, because it was us and then Sapan, and then the Dark Knights showed up, and then Lanselot, but not One-Eyed Lance.
Holy Knight Lanselot fought against Barbas.
Holy Knight Lanselot!
Yes. And then
had to do it.
Martim was the other Dark Knight, and he fought against Gildas.
That's right.
And he did some kind of poison attack. And Gildas was like, "Wah!"
So it sounds like Gildas was just severely outmatched. And that might have been, at least in part, why Denam was hesitant to leave Gildas. Because Gildas is like, I can take him, and Denam's like, should I help you? Because you're not going to be able to take him, or should I rescue my sister? And the fact that that was even a question for him kind of works towards Catiua's situation here. Where Denam really, Catiua would, in a beat of a heart, I guess, blink of an eye, she would have gone after Denam. Yes. But Denam is like, should I really go after my sister? I don't know. There's this other guy. I don't know. I guess I'll go after the sister. And Catiua does not receive the same level of loyalty from Denam that she gives to him. And I think it's really upsetting for her.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember as I first played through this, I was surprised.
Yeah, it's like, go after your sister. What are you doing?
There's one part of her response to Denam here that I am still surprised about, but this aspect of it makes more sense if you look at the scene or interpret it the way you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, he sort of hesitated between Gildas and her.
And sometimes it's hard to tell if the hesitation is playing out in real time or if this is dramatic effect.
Right.
And they're just giving everyone's emotional reaction before the thing happens.
Right.
Anime or video games will do this a lot, where it's like, hey, this isn't meant to be taken. They're not literally waiting this long and thinking and talking before fighting. It's all supposed to be happening. I can't tell if that's how this was meant to go, but the way that I read it is either way, even if he makes the decision right away, he lingered way too long off saving this other dude that we really don't even know much and haven't talked to much. And, that's just a little strange when it's your sister, your only family that you have left just got kidnapped. And you're even thinking about maybe like helping somebody else. It's a little strange.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But in this scene, we have Balsafon, the second in command of the Dark Knights. He's sort of, he's pissed that Martim and I guess Barbas led this attack on Rhyme. They were not commanded to do this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Balsafon is, oh gosh, you're right. This is such he's in such a very interesting position. I think. Very precarious because of some stuff that happens later. But yeah, he's very upset. And at least in part, he bears some responsibility for what happens, right? And especially later on, as we'll get to, I think. But he's in a position where he's supposed to kind of be keeping a wraps on things, and he can't, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it all just falls back on him.
Yeah, so Barbas admits in the scene, as Balsaphon calls him out on it, you went there and did that because you heard that the Holy Knights of Zenobia were there and you just wanted to, like, fight them. that was it. It actually hurts the Dark Knight's position to make it look like they're sort of like that they're not neutral in this conflict.
Yes,
they don't want to look this way because they don't want Zenobia to think that they're aiding anybody.
Right.
So he's pissed that they went there and did that. Barbas tries to play it off like, oh, I couldn't, deny the regent, Branton, and so Balsaphon responds to that. We do not answer to Branton. Speak true. You learned that the Zenobian knights were in Rime and you sought to do battle, is it not so?
Ooh, he's
and then
a mind reader.
Yeah, I just like dot, dot, dot.
Yeah.
Doesn't respond to that.
What's interesting, though, is that I don't think there's any disciplinary action taken. It's like, you jerks shouldn't have done that. Okay, don't do it again, please.
Well, go ahead. I think I know where you're going with this, Ivan, but I'll let you do it.
Did you read the Warren report for Barbas?
Go ahead and read it. Say if you have it in front of you.
I don't have it open, but I know what happens in it is that how he got to work for Lanselot Tartaros is that he was basically court-martialed for beating one of his superiors to death, and Lanselot Tartaros specifically intervened to prevent his execution and recruited him.
Very interesting.
So
I'll
pull it up.
That makes some good sense out of a lot of this.
Well, because
and then Balsaphon would not have the authority to sideline him.
Right, because Balsaphon's all pissed about this, but when Lancelot comes in, he's just like, "What's done is done," is kind of his response. And he decides he's going to send Barbas to Heim, basically, where it's. I'll just read what he says. I'm sending you to Heim, and Barbas is like, but that's leagues away from the front. Like, I don't want to go there, right?
I love measuring things in leagues.
Yeah.
Sounds so legit. It sounds
sweet.
So medieval and cool.
He says, Lancelot says, steady, Barbas. I do not intend for you to serve as castellan for the region. So I'm not just sending you away to some, behind-the-scenes role. Abuna Prancet was being held in Heim Castle.
And that's
Castle.
That's
Denham's father. Yeah. Unfortunately, a band of rebels saw fit to free him. So he's been released or set free by some rebels. He says, the work of the Liberation Front, no doubt. Regardless, I would prefer our true task remain secret. Maniflora's whereabouts elude us. This is the plant, I guess, of the mystery for what it is the Dark Knights are after here.
Oh, I love that you say plant because it has two meanings, and I thought
Maniflora.
I thought you meant the other one because flora means flower, right?
Yes,
but you're right. You're talking about plant as in like the hint.
Yes,
yes.
We're beginning to see what the Dark Knights are really after.
Yeah. Well, it also doesn't hurt that they don't know, and neither do we, by virtue of the fact that it's not really explained too well what Maniflora is.
Yes.
And some people say, well, who/what is Maniflora?
Right.
I actually did think it was a plant for a little while. I was like, oh, there's some like cool plant,
Yeah.
They try to keep the adjective or the pronouns for Maniflora kind of vague, especially in the old translation as well. That's interesting
because in Japanese, there's no need to do that. But in English, it gets interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
In Japanese, you can refer to something and you don't have to worry. The pronoun usage, I don't want to say it doesn't exist at all in Japanese. It does, but it's more, way easier to refer to something in a more neutral
sensitive,
way. Yeah. Whereas in English, it's harder, I guess, unless you just say it.
Yeah. Okay, so the Abuna has been, Prancet, Denham's father, has been set free by the Liberation Front. Maniflora's whereabouts elude us, and now the Abuna, the only man who might know, has gone missing as well. So this is why they captured him in the first place. For this Maniflora that they're after. But
he didn't talk, he didn't give them what they wanted, and somehow he slipped through their fingers, even after they'd captured him.
Right. So, Barbas, I task you with the mission of utmost import, recapture Abuna Prancet, whatever the cost. So his real mission is to get Abuna Prancet back. Then Lancelot says the two of you are to deal with the Liberation Front. Too long have we suffered them to move unchecked. So now they're moving primarily against the Liberation Front. They want to end that particular rebellion in Bakram. Two new Dark Knights are introduced here, Ozma and Oz, brother and sister.
Yeah, I love that.
And then Lanselot says to Balsaphon, and Doris's search for Manaflora is to continue. You and Martim are to proceed with negotiations with the Duke. So Balsaphon and Martim are going to go basically make sure, or reassure, I should say, Duke Ronway that everything's cool.
Right.
This attack on Rhyme, don't worry about it. We're still neutral in this.
Our bad. We got false intel.
Exactly.
And so, but everything's okay. Sorry, by the way.
Yes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Dark Knight apology, right? The training accident.
Yes. So they're headed to Ronway to do that, while Barbas goes and tries to recapture Abuna Prancet.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Oz and Ozma are to stop the Liberation Front, put an end to their rebellion.
Right.
So that's basically everything we get from this scene. All right, let's move forward to Almorica Castle here. So we got Denam, Catiua, and Leonor at the table with Duke Ronway holding council. So in this scene, more or less, they're discussing the situation that they're in. Oh crap, like now we've got the Bakram here, but we're not sure if the truce that we made with the Dark Knights still holds or not. We got to figure that out. We got to send another, what's the word they use?
Envoy
or something to go there and talk to them. Let's get that figured out. But also, what are we going to do about Vice, right? So Ronway decides he wants to put a price on Vice's head.
Price on Vice.
And it's actually a lot less than the price that was put on our head.
Right? 10?
Yeah, 10,000 goth.
We were 30.
Versus 30,000 goth.
Poor Vice, man.
Hold on. That's not actually translated correctly.
Oh, it's not.
Oh.
What he meant to say is he's raising it by 10,000. It's actually going to be it's 40,000.
Oh, got it.
Oh, so
that makes a lot more sense.
Where they give you a different figure, and then you read Vice's thing. It tells you that he has the highest bounty on his head of all time at 40,000, and it increases throughout the chapter.
Got it.
Well, that's got to make him feel better.
That makes more sense. Okay.
it's a grammar error that he makes, where he says increase it to 10,000. He means by 10,000.
By 10,000. So the default bounty is just 30,000.
And so, he's raised it to 40. So he's actually more wanted.
He's more wanted
than
we
Denam was.
Very
maybe that makes it feel better.
Well, I would say because he isn't accused of killing 5,000 people, but maybe he is at this point.
Yeah.
He did.
He did. I know. He actually did it. So there you
go. Anyway, Catiua does not like this. So I'm a little bit confused by her reaction to this. Even when they were fighting, when Denam and Vice were fighting, Denam's like, no, you're my friend. I want to be your friend again.
Yep, you can come back.
Even after you murdered those 5,000 people and tried to kill me many times and have many times told me how much you hate me and you've tried to take my sister from me. All this stuff. He's like, no, I still want to be your friend. And despite all of this, Catiua is upset. Oh, we should not put a price on Vice's head. That's going too far. He's our friend. They're acting like they really care about him and they still want to give him a chance.
Yes.
And
I think it's more that they are sending Denam to hunt Vice down that she's upset with. And
she doesn't want Denam to dirty his hands.
It's just that I think she's also getting frustrated with Denam because we were talking about this in the last podcast where he's just kind of ignoring everything she says.
Yep.
Anyway. And now he's just switching sides. It's like he's going back on what he's been saying. He's ignoring her. I think she's just lashing out and frustrated. But the other thing is, that's what I was saying about not recruiting Sistina and Forcas and all those guys, because she has a little bit more of a bleeding heart when you see the Catiua version of the Saria assassination plan scene, where that fits a little bit better. But yeah, no, I never really liked Catiua's behavior here.
Well,
but I think if you just look at it,
because I'll just read the dialogue real quick. Because she's like, but to put a price on his head, is that not going too far?
Right, kill him,
then
but
Ronway,
make money off of it.
Ronway says, it pains me truly, but it's a needful course, Catiua. And then Catiua turns to Denam and says, will you say nothing in his defense, Denam? Nothing in Vice's defense. Denam says, do not look to Vice to return, not while I'm here. He's saying the truth. He just fought him and tried to appeal to him, and the dude was not. The dude hates his guts.
Yes.
He wants to kill him.
Yes.
Like, they're not friends anymore. And then Catiua says, as ever, my words fall on deaf ears. Fine, do as you like. Now, I can see where you're coming from there, Ivan, where this is like another stone on the pile of times in which Denam has not listened to her.
Yeah, it's about a dozen now. Yeah.
But in this particular instance, I don't understand where her empathy for Vice is coming from, given everything that's happened.
I agree with you. I mean, in general, I think neutral route tree is, I just don't like the way it's written.
Either way, I do like the destination. I like where it's going. I do think it's the right, dramatically the right move to separate these brother and sister at this point, and have chapter 4 have them be on separate sides. I think that's a really cool place for the story to be going. Ronway also brings up here in the scene that Warren, one of the Zenobian knights, he's their spellcaster, I guess.
Yeah.
He suffered a grievous wound, and you can go there and meet up with him. And
that's where I went.
Who's the other?
Mirdyn, and the whiskered gentleman.
So you go there.
Can we go back? Actually, we skipped the very beginning where we just executed people at the beginning of the chapter.
Oh, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
I want to talk about that because that is such in the original version of the game, that is not how that scenario went at all.
Really?
Yeah, tell me about that, because I did think this was. There's a part of me that thinks there's a part of me that thinks it's weird. There's another part of me that thinks, well, it's not necessarily unheard of to have prisoners like fight for their freedom. And it's like, put it in the hands of the gods kind of thing.
Sure, yeah.
But like, they're going to have a public execution is what Leonard calls it. And then he gives them swords and like allows them to fight.
Which is...
And it's just like, you're just going to let some of your soldiers get killed to execute some godless people?
Hey, these are honorable people, these Wallisters.
So the character that we execute there, he's a very interesting character in other routes. And in this route, we just straight up kill him right at the beginning.
Yeah.
But he, in the original version, he was just straight up besieging Almorica. He comes out of nowhere and basically is trying to do a suicide attack. It's like, well, we're the last guys left of Galgastan. Let's just try it. And it is a really easy battle, but it's not like a straight up execution.
Okay, so it was just a desperation attack on Almorica, not like they were captured and being executed.
No. They came there to attack, knowing that they will probably lose and die.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually like that better
than
the execution scene.
But once again, as soon as we decide to rejoin with Wallister, it's like, oh, good, you're on our team now. You're good? Okay, here's a sword. Go execute people. Like, as soon as we show or declare our allegiance back with Wallister, it's like execution time, buddy. It's almost like, what would you call it? Like a rite of passage or a... like, not hazing, but what's like initiation? It's like you get your hands dirty, and then you're one of us.
Yeah, right.
And we do it because we're like, oh gosh, to back out again at this point.
Yeah. Well, these are also soldiers, not.
You're right. They're soldiers,
people.
but calling it an execution, but still having a battle play out. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted another battle.
They just want another battle. Is what they wanted.
But they're referring
the battle
to
was
it
in the code, and they didn't want to have the same scenario play out because they thought this character, we've elevated him a bit in this version because they gave him a new portrait, gave him a whole background.
Interesting.
What do we do with him in this route? You know.
But the execution is interesting, given that Denam.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Rejoining Wallister and then his first act having to perform an execution there's something deep about that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Man, you're in it now. Like
he really wanted to say something with that.
Is gone. What?
He clearly wanted to say something with it because not every scenario got changed around this much, you know. So this one he reframed it on purpose, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably what he said.
I agree with that. I think that's probably good observation.
Okay, back to Denham's reuniting with Warren and Mirdyn.
Mirdyn basically talks about how, oh, he's going to be okay. Like, you know, Warren, he's like in a bed. He's like bedridden, but like he's going to be all right.
But you should go see him. Yeah.
But I don't know about Lanselot. I don't know about Gildas.
And they think that Vice is going to run to the Liberation Front. They're just a guess, basically. And so they decide to go see Saria because they figure, oh, well, maybe Vice is there.
Yeah, because I think their rationale for this is that there's nowhere for him to hide with a price like this on his head other than to run to the Liberation Front.
Yes.
So they're expecting that he would go there, but well, let's see. I'll just read it. As we were leaving Rhyme, Mirdyn says, I received report that a company led by an unnamed Dark Knight had taken the high road. A commander he was called to Heim to defend the town from partisans. So Canopus says, of course, these partisans must be the Liberation Front. They intend to strike the fortress at Boed. By they, he means the Dark Knights. They're going to attack the Liberation Front at Boed. Right. I'm sure of it. If Vice should be there, if he ran to escape there, then Mirdyn says they'll have his head in a sack by morn. So Canopus then says we ought to make for Heim at once. Denam, how will you ride? Mirdyn says, I'll come with you. And then he says, I know you serve his grace, meaning Ronway, but I also know that you would not leave Vice to die an ignoble death. And I said, why not?
You got to save him from an ignoble death. You just have to. What, are you heartless?
Again, I feel like that's the intention of the story.
Yeah.
Like,
these friends for life.
The intention of the story, I believe, was that Denam feels, and I believe this would be true, say, someone with the history that, like, you and I have, Kaysen, and, like, all of a sudden I were to do something horrible like that. It doesn't erase our history, and I'm sure you would have conflicted feelings about this.
Yeah.
So Denam wants to go there to try to make sure that Vice doesn't get slain by Ozma. Ozma and Oz, who have led this group to Boed Fortress.
Yep.
So you head there next, and you arrive there after the attack has already happened and most of the Liberation Front force has been destroyed.
Yes, yeah.
Prancet was there.
Yep.
And has been captured.
They took him, and he's speaking to, is it Saria?
Yes.
He speaks to her, and he says something that I was baffled by at first, but he says, they won't dare kill me.
Yes.
So don't worry about it. I'll be fine. Like, go do something. I can't remember what it was. Go save yourself or do what you can. But they won't kill me. I'll be fine.
Because,
and I'm like, why would they not kill him? And that was a big mystery for me.
The new mystery, or I guess an expounded mystery, but...
Right, because it's amazing to see that he's still alive. And then it's like, oh, there's a reason why he's still alive.
Yes.
And there's something deeper here.
He's the only one who knows where Manaflora might be.
Yes.
Right.
Manaflora. Human flower, maybe something like
okay,
that.
so
human flower.
Ozma is the one there with Prancet, and Prancet thinks everyone's been killed.
Yeah.
But Oz brings Saria up toward the end of the conversation, like, look what I got here.
Yep.
And so there's, oh my gosh, you're alive. Don't worry, they're not going to kill me.
Right.
He's saying to Saria. Just make sure that you live.
Yeah. Don't try to save me. Because she'll get herself killed trying to save him.
Right.
But it's like, no, don't worry, he'll be fine.
So as they take Prancet away, Oz is saying, what should I do with Saria here? And Ozma's like, you rely too much on me. Make your own decision. I'm out.
Yeah, basically, like, how creatively should I execute Saria? Or something like that. It seems like they're like, when they say, what should I do? It's like, how should I dispose of this person? And then the sister or the brother, which one?
The sister Ozma.
Is like, be as creative as you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? Do it however you wish. And pretty gross, first of all. But
Oz has some great lines in describing torture, but you don't get to hear them in this.
This was, I think, up to this point, at least for me, the hardest fight I've done in the game. Well, for a couple of reasons. One, they lock you at level 19 in the Reborn version here, but Ozma is level 21.
Oz.
Oz, sorry. Oz is level 21. all of the knights here are also casters, at least to some degree. They can heal themselves.
Right.
The spellcasters are really, really strong spellcasters, including Ozma, so they're ranged.
And they have the high ground.
They have the high ground.
If we're taking George Lucas as canon here for how things ought to be done. This is a difficult fight, knowing that one thing alone.
Unarmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saria is leadened, meaning she can't move very much. Yeah. And her AI is really dumb, and so she'll run away on the first turn, but run back into the middle of the knights and get surrounded on like the second turn. Yeah. And there is a possibility for you to do this fight and save Saria, which she doesn't join you in this chapter. I think that would happen in chapter 4 if you save her. But I did not bother with that. I was like, this fight is hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try this over and over again to try to save her. I don't have time for that. I have to prepare for a podcast. So
nature will play itself out if she has been selected by natural selection to not survive this fight due to her own ill choices, then that is just the process of evolution taking place.
This was also my rationale behind it. I figure that in another route, probably one that I'll care about more in terms of the narrative, like Chaos or something.
Not the worst route.
That will probably have another chance.
Okay.
So I'm kind of just trying to get through Neutral, and then I'll go back to Chaos, understanding the game better, and then maybe then I'll get the chance. But I wanted to ask Ivan real quick if there's anything we should know about saving Saria or something like that in Neutral route that would be important, because I'm not going to see that if that's the case.
Yes, she is not recruitable after you save her here. She says, I can't work with someone who would rejoin the Duke after what he did, but yeah, your dad's alive, you should go rescue him. She doesn't reveal her connection to her other connection to the rest of the important characters in this game until later. But if you don't recruit her, you can't recruit her in Chapter 4. She has a separate event that is missable. So you could go through the game, save her, and never recruit her anyway.
But I'll just probably have to rely on either YouTube cutscenes or on you, I guess, for any Saria dialogue later on.
She doesn't have that much. In the Neutral route, she doesn't have that much. So I think you're not really missing that much.
Okay, good.
It is always one of the most difficult fights, I think, in every version. In the original version, there was no leaden status effect. So what Oz cast on her was Charm. And that actually tended to make things easier because she would run towards you, trying to attack you. Before Charm the battle would be harder if Charm wore off before her first turn.
Yeah, right. Okay, so anyway, she's not going to be alive, so I just wanted to ask that real quick. But there's some good lines between Oz and Denam and Canopus, actually, during the fight, just occasionally as you're fighting, right? So Oz, after a little while, will say, "You're a formidable lot, still rabble, yet perhaps not so common."
Yep.
And Denam says, "Now that you know your enemy, you would do well to lay down your sword. To do otherwise is to throw yourself upon it." Oz says, "You dare threaten me, base-born knave?" So, again, for context here, Valeria is a very small player in the world in terms of a political power, right? Lodis, this is like the strongest empire in the world. And so you got this like little kid from this little obscure island being like, to fight us is to throw yourself on your sword. He's like, do you know who you're talking to right now? Like, check yourself for a second, bro.
Right.
Oh, I can read you the Warren report.
Oh, go ahead.
So Oz, expert swordsman, received top honors at the Zanam's Officers Academy.
Very cool. At Black Knight School.
He was assigned the Dark Knights at the recommendation of the Gallius Guild of Magi. His sadistic nature was evident in his actions on the field of battle in questioning prisoners. And the rest is he died fighting Denam.
Very interesting. Very good.
Anyway, so, Oz is trying to get him to check himself for a second. If you had an inkling of all this world encompassed, or that all this world encompassed, you would know the piddling place you held in it. But you do not, and so your isles forever mired in blood and death. And Denam says, you and your kind brought this war to our shores. And Oz says, no, you have summoned us here. Ooh. We come to quiet the storm. We bring order where there is chaos, peace where there is war.
So they see themselves as liberators, not invaders.
Yeah. Well, technically, Branton was the one who went to Lodis in the first place and asked for their help.
Ah, I see. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
there you go.
So
that makes sense.
Valeria as a whole, he was a Bakram, but...
This happens, though. The small squabbles turn into, hey, we need allies, we need help, who's going to sell us arms? And then the greater superpowers get pulled in, even to small conflicts, as we all know, of course.
Yeah. So Denam says, do all Knights of Lodis mantle themselves in such twisted truths? And Oz says, the dwarf lectures the giant. You are more fool than I thought. Lodis is a land of kings. Think you we care about the scraps of some unruly rabble? What can you know, you who hasten toward your own destruction? Destroy yourselves as you like, but do not visit your ruin upon us. Canopus gets involved. Of course, he's from Zenobia. Yeah. You there, Dark Knight, do you always justify your own misdeeds by finding fault in others? Oz says, the listless drawl of a Zenobian. You must be Canopus. We encountered your countrymen at Rhyme. So he's talking about the fight with Lanselot and Gildas. Canopus says, how? Oz says, any truth to the rumors that you were driven from your homeland? Such a sad tale. What's this now? The color has fled your cheek. And Canopus is pissed. If you set out to anger me, job's done. I'll carve you like a roast. Oz says, you'll make a poor mummer, Canopus. I see you for what you truly are. Let's hear it then. Oz says, I'm guessing this is going to be a reference to the first Ogre battle. Yeah. But Oz says, once in a battle you weighed duty against friendship, and friendship won. You renounced the sword that day. So why do you play these piteous islanders false? You act the plain-spoken man to divert them from Zenobia's true intent. And Canopus says, a fair speech for so foul a tongue. Tell me, are all Knights of Lodis so long-winded? Just as well for you to savor your last words, I suppose. Anyway, some interesting stuff there. I'm guessing if you had played the first Ogre battle, you'd know what Oz is referring to there.
Canopus is actually a little bit. He's tricky to recruit in Ogre battle, and that is he's referring to his recruitment quest with Gilbald, who you might meet eventually.
Gilbald. Great name.
His best friend.
Okay. So, anyway, you end up killing Oz here. In my game, Saria died, and her last words were, your father is alive.
That's right, yeah. So now Denam knows.
Yes.
Right, that his father's alive.
Yes.
And, the question is how long he's been alive, what exactly has happened here.
Yep.
But it was really interesting to know that. They've been seeking Denam's father this whole time. They actually, and this is interesting about the Black Knights, they don't care who runs Valeria. They don't even want to be the power. They don't actually care about anything happening here. They've been looking for Abuna Prancet this whole time.
Yep.
And that's interesting. Let's put it that way.
They don't care about the political situation here. No. They're after Maniflora, whatever that is.
It's oil or what? Diamonds or what are the things? Coal.
We'll see.
I'm going to guess.
I'm just saying what it is in the real world. Like we don't care about your country or your politics or your people. We just want X.
Yeah. Well, this is a JRPG. I think there's probably magic involved, but
this is probably some
real world examples.
Some dark power from the underworld. Some access to some powerful weapon or something like that.
Hey, who says oil isn't our vehicle to the underworld? I actually think it might be.
It probably is.
You might be right
Black
about that.
Comes to, I know. See, there you
go. Okay, have we covered that pretty well? Can we move on to Almorica Castle here?
Well, we kill Oz. It's just
yeah.
Oh yes, and
does not run away. We just straight up kill him.
Yeah, he's dead for dead for good here.
Any guesses as to how Ozma is going to
feel about that? Do you think she might want vengeance?
I don't know. Maybe 50-50.
But this is just like not what Ronway wanted to happen at all. This is the exact opposite of anything.
Yeah,
right. Because they weren't. Once again, the Dark Knights weren't supposed to be there.
Yes,
and so the Duke, he didn't know that he needed to preface this whole thing with, oh, by the way, if the Dark Knights are there, run away.
Yeah, don't fight them. Don't engage.
We don't really know that, right?
I actually love when they come back and the Duke is like, why did you do that? And Denam is like, what are you talking about?
They were in my way. Of course I did.
What did I
do? Yep, exactly.
But Denam just was not aware. He did not know that, oh, by the way, tiptoe around these guys and don't kill them.
Not supposed to kill Dark Knights.
They were going to kill him. What?
Yep.
What is he supposed to do? Yeah.
Yeah, so they did not find Vice here, which was the whole point of going there. We're supposed to find Vice. They didn't find him. So we're going to try our best to work this out with the Dark Knights.
Say, hey.
They attacked Rhyme.
Yeah, you attacked Rhyme. We killed your commander. Like, come on.
Can we just let bygones be bygones?
Yeah.
I feel like he then just sends Denam as far away as possible from the Dark Knights. I feel like that's where the story tends to go here.
Smart. I didn't catch that, but that's a good pickup.
So, Ronway says, we cannot suffer him to come and go as he wills. With a bounty so high, he will think twice before having his presence known, or before making his presence known. As for the rest, it is in the hands of the headhunters. Our foremost concern is rooting out what followers of Balbatos remain and securing Caritanide. To which end I want you to travel to Ashton. They heard news of Gildas. We are told that a man matching the description of the Zenobian knight Sir Gildas has been seen in Ashton.
That's right.
So Denam's like, Sir Gildas? What's he doing there? The knight says, took fright and fled from Rhyme, no doubt, bloody coward. And Denam's like, Sir Gildas is no coward, like, stop it. Ronway's silence. Or I'll not have you at each other's throats. Go to Ashton. He's sending Denam to Ashton. I think like Ivan saying to get him as far away from the Dark Knights as possible.
Yeah.
Send back word of what has happened. I know our hero will not disappoint. So Denam leaves to catch up with Catiua. There's another scene between Denam and Catiua here where she explains a little bit more what I was talking about earlier, that she's afraid he's going to abandon her, right?
Yeah.
So, but he's trying to catch up with her because he's trying to tell her our father's still alive.
Yes.
Like, you need to know this.
She doesn't care.
No, at all.
About that news. Now, we do find out a little bit later why.
Yeah.
But I still thought this was a little...
Well, no, because Vice hinted at this earlier.
Yeah.
Vice told us when we were fighting him one-on-one, like, you were the only one she ever cared about. Because Denam was trying to say that Catiua looks at you like a second brother. And Vice is like, are you stupid? Like, no, she didn't. Literally the only person on this planet she cares about is you. Even her own father was good enough for her. Okay. So he sort of hinted at that earlier. So Catiua already knew that Abuna Prancet is not her real father. He took them in. Right, so they're not related by blood.
Right.
Denam did not know this, apparently.
Well, yeah, apparently he didn't know this, but he's younger than her, so it would have been maybe she was 4, he was 2, and it's like he just doesn't remember that long ago. But it also makes sense, Abuna Prancet, of course, being taken prisoner out of a church, right? So this is orphanages tend to be run out of churches, and so it was... I didn't realize this, but this was kind of an orphanage scenario. And all of the kids around who were crying as Abuna was being taken out, they were all orphans.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. So she believes at this point she's blood related to Denam, that they were orphaned together.
But they were together when they were orphaned,
Right.
Yeah.
So he has to go off to Ashton after Sir Gildas. She stays here behind in Almorica. She doesn't go with us. She's not a guest in the party anymore.
A note on the original translation I always think is funny. There's a Star Wars reference in this conversation where Catiua quotes Vader. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. Denam's like, no, that's impossible.
I don't remember. That's hilarious. I don't remember that.
That's in the original, the old translation.
The old one. Yeah. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Okay, so from this point, we go after Sir Gildas. And so I kind of want to, before we like get into details of like dialogues and things like that, just sort of summarize where this goes. Like, basically, in order for Denam and Catiua to be separated, which is where the story's going towards the end of the chapter here, this is the point where they branch off. So Denam is sent away to Ashton, far away, like Ivan said, from the Dark Knights. Get out of here. Don't interfere with this anymore. We don't want you there. You go after Sir Gildas, and this leads back into another sort of subplot with the necromancer from, what was his name from the first? Nybeth?
Nybeth.
Nybeth.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a new subplot with Nybeth, and you're basically going through different stages of him being kind of the main villain of who we're pursuing at this point. Yeah. While in Almorica, Ronway makes this sort of coup where they're going to bring Balsaphon there, capture him, but they actually wanted it to be Lanselot. It was supposed to be Lanselot, but then it ended up being Balsaphon instead, where they're going to betray the Dark Knights.
Right.
Before they get betrayed by the Dark Knights.
It's a game.
Exactly. But Lanselot does not show up, so they get Balsaphon instead. Lanselot goes after Catiua. Again, probably to use as leverage against Abuna Prancet.
Right.
And he reveals to her real identity.
Yeah.
So he reveals to her, you are not related to Denam. Denam is some different orphaned kid.
Right.
You are actually the...
I can't remember the guy's name.
You are, well, Say it again.
Dalgorlia?
Dorgalua is the king's daughter.
Yes.
She is the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
Yes, so this was the Dynast king.
Yeah.
The Dynast king who died.
That Denam might still be Prancet's son. That she might have just been wrong about Denam.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right.
That's a good point. So
that's right.
She is not related to Denam, though. So he reveals to her, you are the Dynast king's daughter, not from the queen, but from an affair that he had with another woman, who I think was like a servant of the queen or something like that.
That's right. That's right. It was an illegitimate. That's right.
and her name was Manaflora. The name of this of Catiua's mother was Manaflora. So
Mana, by the way, I initially took a different reading on this. Man and then flora, like a human flower. Mana, though, has a pretty interesting meaning just on its own. Even in these types of games, So
mana from heaven?
Being like, mana from heaven, something like a supernatural gift, something like that.
Right.
And then a flower, right? So it's almost like a magic flower, something like that.
Okay, so we will return to that at the end of the chapter because there's a really interesting part with Leonard and Catiua right at the very end, and you fight Osma there towards the end. That's ultimately where we're going.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to determine how much of the other sort of like B plot that we get with Denam here we want to talk about.
There's not a ton. I have one part I really want to talk about.
Pretty fast. Because some of the fights are just like we're fighting zombies. But before we do that, I do want to mention that if you go down, if you fight Gamp, the Beastmaster, he has a pretty
he comes back
fight.
again.
Oh, right.
Kill his beasts, he powers up, where he debuffs your party. So for every monster you kill, he'll do two power-ups for himself and
he's hard.
His beasts, and then 2 debuffs for you for every monster that you kill.
And every time you kill one of his griffins, it makes him more pissed at you.
There's an optional, another B plot, which the game does not tell you about at all, and you just have to get into it by happenstance, is if you go to Crisaro, you'll meet Leonard and 3 other NPCs who are about to attack, I believe, some pirates again at Kuchinga Fortress. This is how you recruit Hoberim, who is Balsaphan's brother, if you remember.
If you remember from
Hoberim,
chapter 1, when Lanselot talked to Balsaphon after we had left, and he was like,
and he's like,
remember your brother?
Like,
remember that whole thing?
Yes.
In a fight, but notice what's going on here. He also compared them to Denam and Catiua to them.
That's
now
right,
Denam and Catiua are on opposite sides. and you immediately recruit Oberon.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is Hobrim, the brother of Balsafon that they had referenced earlier in the game.
Yeah.
There's two different ways to recruit him. You can recruit him at Quadriga, as Ivan's bringing up, or there's a different battle if you don't do that, which is an optional battle at Quadriga.
Yeah, because he's missable in this route. If neither one of these are told to you. You either go to Crisero and then you go down to Quadriga Fortress after. There is no Warren Report thing. You just have to kind of walk into it. And then if you miss that, because if you go to Ashton and continue that, this gets closed off. Right before you fight a castle at the end of the chapter, if you go down to Golat, you'll have another battle with some Galgastani mercenaries, and then you'll meet Hoberim fighting his way out of a shack, and Denam recruits him there. So he's blind. He's a blind swordsman. He has no eyes, and he hates the Dark Knights taking away his eyes.
So that was very interesting to me.
Right.
He's blind, so he can't see, but he's still a swordsman.
Yeah.
And he's really good.
Yeah.
Particularly as a terror knight, if you make him into that, which is what I did.
In the original, he was also very broken because not only was he a dodge tank, he could block anything with his sword. You could shoot arrows, and he's blind. You could block anything. He couldn't change him out of Swordmaster though. But he could also cast Petrify, which in that game was a permanent effect. And because his dexterity was so high, he was getting everything almost all the time, and you could just petrify the entire enemy army with him. He was extremely broken.
But yeah, so that little mystery plant that they had earlier is starting to move forward. Now Hoberim, this brother of Balsafon, is fighting with us. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But you can choose not to recruit him too. So it's, one of those missable things. You could miss the whole battle altogether and just not encounter him. Yeah. And then you could also just say no.
That's right, yeah.
In Law and Chaos, you cannot miss. You have it upon him.
Okay.
So only in the neutral route can you miss.
He's just less important.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you get to Port Ashton. This is where you encounter Gildas. He's zombified. But there's two characters you get here too. Divold and Oelius.
Yeah. Sybil Oelius.
Oh.
Right.
I always forget her name. I call her Aureus all the time.
Yeah.
From her original name.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So basically, this is a brother and sister who are the son and daughter of Nybeth.
Of Nybeth. Okay, this one, it was like hint a little bit. It was like, oh, his voice is scratchy.
Yes.
And he looks a little off, but not completely so.
How old are these characters, though? That was my confusion. Do you know off the top of your head, Ivan?
Olius, I know, is 18.
Okay.
But Divold, so usually the game will display characters' ages unless they die, in which case it stops. So with Divold, it's not displaying his age.
Oh, because he's dead.
I think he was in his late 30s in the original game.
So he's a much older sibling to her.
Are they half siblings or?
Nybeth's family situation when we play the Chaos route is going to get a lot more confusing.
I was going to say,
just go ahead and assume had a lot of wives and a lot of kids.
I thought so. Nybeth does not strike me as the most
pious.
Yeah, pious, morally virtuous of the bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just a little confused about that, but then I had remembered the detail that this isn't actually Diebold's body, so I didn't know how old that character was supposed to be.
Right.
But her being 18 makes more sense. Anyway, they tell you, our father is messed up. We are totally against the experiments that he does on people. Yeah. He needs to be stopped. Yeah. Can we come with you? Again, you can say no. I don't know why you would, but you can. But anyway, you say yes, and they come with you to do a battle against Nybeth and be like, Father, this is messed up. You can't keep doing this.
Okay, but you're missing the best part of the game so far. It's in the script. Well, they have to perform. I was laughing out loud. Nobody, except for people who follow this podcast, will think this is funny in any way at all. But Nybeth had to perform what is called a soul fetch.
Yes.
and they keep talking about it because it's like they have to fetch his soul. and they talk about how the soul fetch was incomplete. and it's a difficult thing to fetch a departed soul. Oh man, I was dying. I could not. I had to
good.
stop. Oh.
I didn't even go there, and I'm the one who says it more often than anybody. So that's really funny.
Oh my gosh, it was too good. I thought that has to be the title of this episode.
Soul fetch.
The soul fetch.
That's good stuff, dude.
One thing.
Whew.
Go ahead, Ivan.
If Diebold dies in the battle if you meet him, Oleus will still join you. But if Oleus dies, Diebold just like goes ... leaves, and you never see him again.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's great. By the way, Diebold, it's like die isn't like die, but then Vol is in like angel.
His old name was Bordas.
Whoa,
totally
huge upgrade for him. Although Diebold has some pretty negative connotations.
Yeah, so anyway, they join up with you. You go and you fight Nybeth. And let's see, there was some good dialogue. Let's pull some of that up.
Before you fight Nybeth, you fight his either
the Necroprentices.
Wife or daughter or both. Yes, the Necroprentices.
Yeah.
I was confused about who those characters were. Do you have that pulled up, or can you explain it?
She's not recruitable in this route, but she will be in the Chaos route. The one necromancer who did not look like Moldova is a unique. But she dies. You kill her on the way.
And Cassandra is like a wife, you're saying?
Cassandra's the mother, and Moldova and Cressida are the daughters.
Yeah. Okay. So this is all the Nybeth family.
I thought they were all
tree
three sisters, but the one being a mother kind of confused me for a minute too.
Okay.
But they think
she has the same portrait as her daughter.
Yeah, that's right, and that's why I was like, "Who are these people?" But they think they're really good guys here, and she has a point in the fact that she points out that Denam, you leave behind you a trail of blood.
Sure,
but with us, there is the promise of new life, something like that.
Yeah, and this is kind of the way Nybeth approaches this.
Yes.
I'm not going to do this now, but it kind of brings back. Well, I'll just read some of his dialogue. The whole thing we've been kind of returning to about the pursuit of eternal life and all this stuff.
Right. Oh, sure. Oh, good.
Nybeth makes those kinds of arguments.
Yes.
That his goal in all of this is to, basically escape death, which is this, horrible, unnecessary thing. And that, the sacrifices that need be made along the way. Again, kind of coming back to one of the core themes of the game, which is consequentialism. Do the ends justify the means?
Oh, sure. That's a big theme, yeah.
So he thinks, these sacrifices that are made along the way are justified because the ends are too important.
Well, and in the future, that's so interesting because you're guessing in the future. And he's making a big bet. The big bet he's making is that this is even at all possible in the first place.
Yes, that's a good point.
If it's not possible, then you're just killing thousands of people and for something that's impossible, and you're just bad.
Yep.
But if it is possible, but you don't know if it's possible or not because no one's ever done it. If it is possible, then you kill 10,000, but you solve the secret to eternal life. That means potentially everyone in the future can also not die, and you save millions. Right? Something like that, right? There's a huge if there.
Yep.
Once again, the ifs and whens.
Yep,
and
exactly.
There's a lot of potential downfalls here, but then he's saying, hey, well, he's just the kind of person to go ahead and chuck it and give that risk a shot, even though there's like a low chance of it being possible.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how he moralizes the whole thing.
Yeah, justifies it all.
Justifies it.
Yeah, and so in the fight here, Gildas has returned to him, and he's like, so he...
Gildas, yeah.
At the end of chapter 2... During some of the narration that I read at the beginning of the episode,
where it shows a few scenes,
do you see Nybeth approach Gildas's dead body in rhyme? Right. So he had gone to him and done whatever this zombifying process is as one of his experiments to bring him back.
And to be like, hey, he didn't kill the guy. He just did an experiment on the dead person.
The aftermath of a battlefield.
What's wrong with that? You know? And other than like when you look at Gildas, he is suffering. He seems to be suffering immensely and unhappy at his present state.
Yeah. And it didn't work.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yes, still negative morality, downside, whatever.
Sure.
But I see how Nybeth justifies it.
Yeah, I think Nybeth here says each new success brings only another failure, but such are the restraints I must work against. No small task
Quote.
Restoring life to the death.
There you go.
Another of my works, a failure. Forgive me. Clearly it is not enough to call the soul back to a house that no longer is fit to hold it. But what if there were some means of leaving behind the shattered body, a transmigration of the soul? Perhaps that way lies the path. So he's getting a new idea.
He is. And this idea is essentially, instead of trying to make the body live forever with the soul, what if there was a way to take the soul out of the body and maybe put it into a new body?
Yeah.
Right? And then you just keep taking it out. When that body dies, take it out, put it into a new one. And then that body dies, take it out. And that way you never die. What?
This is so screwed up because there are characters in this universe who already do that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so it's already been... Nybeth isn't as much of a pioneer as he thinks.
Yeah, no, it's like that's the crazy part about it. We'll meet some later, but
okay, well, I look forward to it.
You know this from Ogre Battle.
Interesting.
So when Oelius shows up, she says, "Please, Father, you must stop this. Put an end to the suffering." And Nybeth says, "What suffering? You can't mean my zombies. They attack of their own will. They cannot abide the living, and death is an agony. They simply seek more of their own, and I have given them hope. It is gratitude I am owed, not resentment.
Oh, man.
Don't spout that tired doctrine the church passes for the truth. You were too weak to save Deovold's soul. What makes you think you can save these others?" Oelius says, "I'll not turn my back on them and run as you did. I do not despair of life as you, Father. I revel in each moment." Nybeth says, "Ever the self-righteous one, a quality I found endearing once. I will not enjoy killing you, but I see no other way. Denizens of the abyss," and then he brings up a bunch of enemies to kill us. Divold talks to him as you're fighting. "Nybeth, Father, you must end this. Your sorcery brings only suffering." Nybeth says, "How can you say such things, Divold? Is it not thanks to my power that you now stand here? Yes, my techniques are imperfect, but I will be the first to admit that I have caused discomfort, but when I do perfect them, then we will know true succor from the ravages of death. Is that not worth some pain along the path?"
Sounds like John Hammond a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, for sure.
I know there's some uncomfortableness, but when I get it right, next time.
Divold, what you do sins against life. It is a twisting of the great Father's providence. So Divold and Oelius obviously believe in Philhaha.
Yes.
It can never be perfect, for by its very nature it is corruption. Nybeth rejects that whole premise of the great Fathers as bullcrap, like that's not real.
Yeah.
Divold says, "Then I must slay you before you take any more down with your twisted path to hell." Enough of these words. Deeds bring transformation. Swing your sword as you will. Oelius says, "I don't understand. What possible benefit could your abhorrent inquiries merit? I have no love for death, but I know better than to seek to change it, to bend the laws that bind us to our fate. Nor do I believe that life unfairly reclaimed is true life. Lashing a tortured soul to a corpse is not salvation, it's cruelty." Nybeth says, "How my own flesh and blood cannot see the wonder I work is beyond me. Does the world not lament the veil of death and likewise rejoice to see it lifted?" Oelius says, "You disgraced death's purpose. It is the final reckoning toward which we strive. Life's ambrosia is sweet only when we know the cup will run dry." Nybeth, "The same words you said to me before, yet they still ring false. A paper-thin veneer that cannot disguise your fear. Death terrifies you, as it does us all." She says, "I fear death, yes, yet I will strive to accept it when my time comes. For I believe in my heart that death brings more than despair." Acceptance.
That's a good one.
We talked about that all with our last podcast.
Yeah, very thematically good. And he brings up death anxiety for her.
Yeah.
But he's more afraid of death.
Way more afraid of death. Yes.
Yeah. He's willing to kill so many people to save himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, man, you're backed into a corner, aren't you?
In this version, he turns into a raven and flies away. In the original version, you do kill him, but he turns into a lich. And then he flies away.
Okay. Jeez.
Okay, so he's not dead. He
Classic.
just ran away again.
There's another line from Nybeth I wanted to throw out here right before he dies.
He will be reappearing in the optional side dungeon called the Palace of the Dead in Chapter 4, which is, I do not expect you to go through it. He's the final boss of that dungeon. It's 100 floors, but
holy fuck!
No thanks.
But the relevant cutscene with Oelius and Divold and Nybeth is on floor 5.
Oh, good. Okay,
Jeez.
so we can just and then leave.
It might merit going down there, but if not, I'm just letting you know now that that's where the story arc gets kind of tied up, so that when you get to Chapter 4, if you don't go out on Palace of the Dead, maybe look up the cutscenes that happen in it.
Okay.
Because the Nybeth storyline will not get tied up in the main game.
Okay, that makes sense. So Nybeth says before he dies, he says, "You expect me to bend to the will of an imaginary being when my own purpose lies so clearly before me. I make my own way through this world. My steel will, my shining intellect, these are light enough for me to follow." Of course, he just, when you follow your own light, you're following yourself. There's a bit of a feedback loop that amplifies negative traits, I think, and you're just kind of living to fulfill your own life, which means it's like there's no point. Anyways, it's good stuff. Then he turns into a bird and leaves, and Catiua wants to leave. Oh, this was interesting because we come back to Catiua, but you already kind of went over that.
Right.
But Catiua, before, when Leonis goes to talk to her, she's she's already kind of thinking of leaving, and they can't find her. Right. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The Duke and Leonis are like, "Oh, go get Catiua. I'm afraid."
Leonor.
Leonis.
Leonor.
Did I write it wrong? That they're
without a D.
Yeah. They're kind of concerned, but he goes out to find her. And I thought some shenanigans was happening with Leonor, but it turns out, it was
Lanselot had already.
It was
come.
Lance, one-eyed Lance.
Yeah. So let's see. We've basically covered this whole scene with Lanselot and Catiua.
No, but except we didn't touch on the necklace. And,
right.
And this I might need some help here. So
Okay.
She's shocked because one-eyed Lance is like, "All right, you don't believe me? Look at your necklace." She picks it up. It has a name on it. What's the name? Oh, Versalia. Has she never noticed this before? This is her necklace. She wears this every day, all the time.
Yeah.
This is her special thing. And Lance is like, "Hey, what name does it say? Have you ever wondered why that's not your name?" And she's like, "Oh." Now, there's one thing that I just now thought of this. It is, she knows that the name Versalia was always on it. But One-Eyed Lance doesn't know what the necklace says. He shouldn't know that. And the fact that he knows a name, "Oh, Versalia. Your name is Versalia. Now look at your necklace." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that is." It may have been written there and she didn't know what it meant, right? But the fact that this guy who's never seen her necklace knows that word that's secretly written on it means that he knows something more.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to choose that interpretation as opposed to she just never noticed that.
Never knew
that there's a name written on it that's not her name on her necklace.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that probably
yeah.
would be convincing enough on its own. Okay, so Denam returns to Almorica. They're getting ready to basically betray the Dark Knights. They're going to retake Rhyme, and Denham's like, "What? We can't openly defy the Dark Knights. That's crazy." He's like, the prospect unmans you. It would not be the first time you faced them in battle. Like, what are you concerned about? They think us weary of fighting, says Ronway, and that shall be their undoing. Their conceit blinds them. They will not expect us to fight any more than they will expect us to win. I like that line a lot.
Yeah.
They won't expect us to fight any more than they would expect us to win if we did fight.
Right.
So we'll see Sir Lanselot at the parley. The Dark Knights won't dare move against us while we hold their high champion. Of course, that ends up being Balsaphon instead of Lanselot.
Second high champion?
Yeah, the second in command.
The assistant to the high champion.
Yeah. So it does not go...
no, it doesn't.
Perfectly.
But right before that, this was a really interesting one. Zaebos, Xaebos. Okay.
Yeah, Zybos.
can you explain the situation, what happens with him real quick? And then I have a quote I want to read from him.
Dybos was basically Balbatos's right-hand man throughout the Blood War. He right now is, I'm pretty sure he just attacked Caritine Keep to recapture it with like the last remnants of what was left of the loyalists in Galgastan.
Right, but
he is like the Lenar to the Hierophant, like the way that Leonard is to the Duke. He's that guy to the Galgastani.
Perfect, that makes sense. So Zebos, right? He's about to die, right? And basically he's saying that because Wallister was trodden underfoot by Galgastan, right, essentially, and while the Wallisters were seen as, second-class, lower citizens, that now that the Wallister have emerged as this great power, he's basically kind of saying, hey, the shoe's going to be on the other foot in 100 years. Pretty soon, the Galgastan are going to be the ones. This is the line he says. 100 years hence, the bards will sing of our noble struggle against Wallister oppression. And I thought that was so good, because this is what happens. Anytime you are just trying to pit the oppressors versus the oppressed, it's like, okay, as soon as the oppressed win,
they become the oppressors.
Then they're the oppressors, and then the other, and then just wait a few generations, and then these guys are the oppressed, and it's kind of a never-ending struggle if you want to kind of just view it that way.
I have some notes, because there's the fight you have right before Zybos. You fight the sorceress Zildor, who is probably like the most pro Blood War character that you meet.
Oh yeah,
she's basically straight up tells them, like, yes, I want to kill all the Wallister. Like, why are you even bothering me about this?
That's right.
Like he's trying to get them to surrender, and she's like, no, I want to kill you all. And she's very open about it. And then you look at her Warren report. And basically, she was like a professor of history in Galgastan, and she specialized in the time period during Dorgaliwa where the Wallister had power over the Galgastani, and she basically focuses entirely on how the Wallisters treated the Galgastanis badly.
Oh, wow. Hey, how about that? But, the fact that she's a university professor. I'm sorry.
No,
there's some... That's just class. That's great right there. And then it's the focus on the oppression. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, actually. But once again, how as Steve Carell says in The Office, how the turntables, right? and it does. It does. And anytime you think that, you're, fighting the noble cause, it's like, look, man, we've seen human nature for a very long time. As soon as the oppressed, get some power, they become the oppressors. I'm sorry. That's just how it works. But also, of the Duke, this is what Zaibos says to us. He says, and history will judge you not, right? Because you knew the Duke for a tyrant, yet did nothing.
Yeah,
right?
I liked that line a lot.
That was a good line.
This is a lot of what the kinds of things Ozma says to Denam as well at the end of the chapter. And this goes back to what we were talking about, that Matsuno does really well in his stories, is he will do a good job at making the antagonists have really good counterpoints or arguments against the protagonist's actions to paint them in a light in which what you did is actually, can be condemned.
Yes.
And what I'm doing is justified.
From
he's
a certain
really
point of
good at that.
Yeah.
From a certain point of view.
I love Zybos in every route, because he's always the one who just breaks Denham down. Like, oh, you think you're the good guy, huh? No, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
You always make sure to remind him that he's a hypocrite.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's really, really good stuff.
And it's so funny that it would never occur to most Wallisters that they could ever be the oppressors of anyone.
Yeah.
Like 1 year ago. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, look, man, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we see Vice is my next note here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vice is
piss and blood.
Actually.
Ooh, geez.
Yeah, he's like trying to escape, and these knights are kind of coming after him. Denham calls out to him.
This is what we hinted at this before, but his this is the first time we've seen him in a little while since our last the end of the last chapter, and he looks so much worse. he has really been through it. Like he has had a rough time, and he's just covered in blood and scars, and he's not doing well.
Yeah, his time being an outlaw has not gone it's as smoothly as Denham's.
No, look at Denham's profile pic. He's still like super looking good, you know?
Yep. Anyway, we're not able to get to him in that battle. He runs away again.
Yeah, but he says someday we'll regret saving him.
Yep.
So, I mean, we can imagine.
Do me no favors. I swear to you, someday you'll regret saving me. Right. I only wanted to help, says Denham. Yeah. Let's see. Should we get to Almorica Castle here?
Yeah, we're over time already, and
we're almost at the end of the chapter here.
Okay,
let's just kind of like summarize it, basically.
Okay.
So
we go through Library Pass, we get to Rhyme, and that's where the plot happens that you were mentioning about earlier.
Right.
The Duke's kidnapping plot.
Yeah,
right.
Let's jump to there now.
So Ozma ends up coming back for Balsaphon.
Yeah.
And freeing him. And as Leonor runs in to be like, oh no, the window was opened and Balsaphon is gone, Vice gets in and gets to the Duke.
Yeah.
And Leonor runs back there like, oh crap, like don't do this.
Their whole plan just fell apart.
Yeah. Well, Vice ends up assassinating Duke Ronway.
Yeah.
They kill Vice in response to that. And now it's like, okay, now what do we do? Our leader was just killed. Vice's? Oh, yeah. Vice's last word.
I wrote that down. His last word was Catiua.
Yep. And yeah, he was super messed up, his portrait at this point.
Yeah.
But that's where he's cut down, and Leonor sort of takes command at this point and rallies the remainder of the Wallister, basically says, we got to go.
You know what's crazy, though? As soon as they take Balsaphon hostage, he was saying, what? We have what we wanted. We were going to give Valeria to
you. Yeah.
But you just went and did this.
Yes.
And the Duke is playing it all cool. He's like, oh, no matter. We'll take it as we see fit.
Well, no. I really liked what the Duke did in response.
What did he say?
We don't need you to give it to us.
Yes,
we're strong enough to take it.
Yes,
this is not yours to give.
That is good. That is good. Except this could have been done in a more tactful way. Like we keep saying, Lodis and Zenobia are so far beyond Wallister.
Yeah,
right. That it's true that in the moment, but wait for a year for Lodis, for Los Lorien, for the them to kind of regroup and then show back up at Valeria with some vengeance in mind, because that's how this world works apparently.
Yeah.
So anyways, I feel like the Duke didn't know that they were going to be given it.
He probably didn't.
Even though he plays it cool, like, hey, we're taking it whether you give it to me or not. I would hope to think that there was some slight regret in his actions of what he had just done.
Well, considering
given how it turned out.
How it turns out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Leonor gives like this rousing speech to the remainder of the Wallister commanders to get them to fight for the people, if not, for themselves.
And you can hear the people rising up.
And so they're like, all right, let's do this. Let's lay siege to Phidoch Castle, tear it down brick by brick. The Bachran within stir, no fear in me. The problem is the Dark Knights. If the Knights were to ride in force, we would crumble before them. So we got to take out these Knights, these Dark Knights, and then we can... The island will be ours at that point, right?
Yep.
So, you end up going to Phidoch, laying siege to it, fighting your way inside. Yep. You're winning the fight.
Leonor comes to rescue Catiua, but she kills him.
Yes, she stabs him, and he's not expecting that.
Nope, we did not know. We are oblivious to what's been happening with Catiua this whole time.
Yeah.
Denam and Leonis.
Yeah, so Leonor says, Catiua, what are you doing here? Come to my rescue, such a brave knight. And she lunges at him and stabs him. And he's like, what? Why? And then Lanselot comes in. It's dangerous here. We're leaving the castle. Come with me. And
this is crazy because Balsaphon took the heat for a lot of the failures of the Dark Knight, and he took control of the castle, and he was the one meeting when it was supposed to be Lanselot. His reasoning kept being, hey, Lanselot isn't here right now. I'm the one in charge now. I'm the one who has to take control. I'm the one who's going to do all the stuff now because Lanselot isn't here. And then we cut to this point here. Lanselot is, I guess, closer than it seemed, and people are surprised, like, Lanselot, what are you doing here? And like, he's still around. He's just been laying low this whole time, right?
Yeah.
Also, I'll let you go ahead and keep reading, but there's
I was just going to say, basically, the Dark Knights are defeated here, so they're retreating from Phidoch Castle, but Ozma wants to get revenge on Oz.
Because of Oz.
Of course.
But this says Oz, I wrote this down. This is so interesting. I don't know what it means yet, but Oz and Ozma were two parts of one soul.
Yes.
Is what Ozma says.
That's what she says.
They were
Is there some Nybeth craziness? Right?
They were twins.
That's just how they thought of each other, because they were twins. That's just
okay. So they're
it's not that
we were together
two in a
since
pod.
We've literally been together since we were conceived.
One soul in two bodies. So there's no Nybeth sorcery, weird stuff happening.
No, I don't
here?
think so.
No,
I think it's just
okay, just a manner of
That one was a
manner of
metaphor.
speaking.
Okay.
We've always been close.
Yeah, I was curious about that line.
So, Catiua will never mourn you as I mourned Oz, she says to Denam. Think on that as your blood wets these stones. I like that line a lot. She says a lot of other things here. Denam of Goliath, you will pay for my brother's death. Denam says, your brother, the commander of the Dark Knights of Boed, you have his look, twins. She says, two parts of the same soul.
Right.
And now half of that soul is gone thanks to you.
Oof.
I thought there was a line here where she like kind of called him out on something, but maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I didn't have anything.
I think there is. I'm not sure if it might be in the script. These triggers for these conversations that we're born are.
Oh, some of the mid battle.
Okay, because I thought I remembered her calling him out for being some kind of hypocrite or something in this fight.
Oh, okay.
He definitely does. I know.
Yeah,
I remember
I'm just not seeing in the script, but I like the way she put it. Yeah. Anyway, she basically does some of this what I'm talking about, turning it back around on Denam. You think that what you did was right, and it's clearly not, and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, you end up killing her in the battle. She says, "No, Oz, you're unavenged. Glory to Lodis." And this leads to the end of chapter 3. That's basically
that's the end.
Where we
and
leave
the
off.
last words, kind of at the end of each of these chapters, Denam gives a short little sentence or two. This one is, at Almorica, those words Leonor spoke to us. Did he truly mean what he said? Have I done right or wrong?
Yep.
And chapter 4 is Let Us Cling Together.
Let Us Cling Together, which was the name of the PSP version of this game.
Ah, right, yes, yeah.
Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together.
in the original translation, this chapter was called Hand in Hand, which I believe is also a Queen song.
Close. Hand in hand, we can
The Queen song.
together. Oh, Queen. Okay, sorry.
At this point, Denam is in charge
What?
of 2/3 of the country.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that means that Denam is now the leader of the army.
Catiua changed her look.
Yeah, she's
she's got,
dressed more royally now.
She's got the black.
Oh yeah, there's
now,
like this this portrait we have, or this artwork we have back here. She's in the black dress. Anyway, good stuff. Anything that we missed in sort of the rush to get to the end there that we need to
there's
talk
this
about?
line here. I have a few, but at least, and this may not come till, I think this comes right at the end here, but Catiua felt that Denam betrayed her first.
Yes.
So all of her actions should be viewed through that lens. She feels that she had already been betrayed by him. So when she's kind of being callous and, dismissive and doing her own thing apart from him, against him, she believes that it's like almost a revenge thing. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's just how this world works. But she believes that she was first wronged.
Yeah.
So.
Which is, crazy, but okay.
Yeah, but hey, man, everyone's got their own perspective and their own atomized view, the way they see the world, in their own little subjective way,
She did her villain arc.
True. Yes,
Villain arc.
I did not foresee this, by the way. I didn't foresee them not having the same dad, and then I didn't foresee her and then not being brothers, and then I didn't foresee her dad being the former king, and then I didn't foresee her totally turning her back on us and killing people and becoming the leader of New Valyria. And there was a lot of big surprises here, specifically with her character, and they kept adding up, like, whoa, Catiua, I didn't know, whoa, Catiua, and it was a bit overwhelming towards the end. I feel like she turned a little too quickly. That would be my initial thoughts. But if neutral is the worst playthrough, then I would love to see how this change happens in other playthroughs.
Well, again, I think it all kind of hinges on her stated reasons, like we talked about at the beginning, for why she did what she did.
Yes.
Either
right. That's probably why
either have a couple lines throughout chapter 1 and 2 where she's like constantly worried he's going to abandon her.
Yep.
And like show this irrational fear she has and that she acts on that and that's her motivation, which is what it is. Or Denam, you never freaking listen to me. Everything has gone wrong and now Vice is, now you want to kill Vice and everything is, you made all these choices. You never listened to me and I'm done.
The idea of you never listen to me is that, well, things would have turned out better if you had listened to me. Otherwise, she'd just be admitting, oh, okay, I was wrong there. Instead, it's like, no, I was right. And that gets you into this complex of thinking, I think I could be a better leader than Denam. I think I could make the right decisions. Yeah. Come to find out, you're the lost princess of the old king. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Now,
isn't that great?
You've been thinking this whole time, hey, everyone should have been listening to me. I'm the one who made all the right decisions. All of a sudden, this authority mantle falls into your lap. And now it's like, okay, lead away, princess. And we'll see now how great her choices end up being.
Also, her entire motivation was based on the fact that she believed Denam was her only family.
Yes.
So when it's revealed that that's not the case... then she has no more allegiance to him.
Yeah, but you can still be like really, really, really good friends with somebody, even if you aren't siblings. Like,
she's finally
come on,
becoming a real character though. Now, Yeah, she's kind of like being her own person, making her own decisions.
You're right, and that had to. You could say that just like Oz and Ozma were of one soul, that Catiua and Denam, she clung so much to him that we were basically one soul.
Yeah.
Denam and Catiua. Yeah. And that in kind of cutting the umbilical cord from her brother, her younger brother, anyways, in kind of distancing herself from that situation, you're right, she is kind of emerging as a whole soul in and of herself, as opposed to a tag-along connection to the other half of somebody else.
I think that it's the combination of feeling like that he had abandoned her in Vice and being wronged by that, and then also getting the justification that, I'm not actually blood related to him, so I don't have to be aligned with him anymore.
So it seemed like she wanted to be with him all the time, but it could be that she just felt so obligated to be with him all the time.
Yeah.
Being his older brother. Yeah. Being...
Or older sister.
Oh, sorry. Older sister. Being that they were family. It could be that those actually were burdensome chains that she continued to follow because that's what older sisters do. But that, it didn't seem like a burden for the first couple of chapters.
I could also...
It could be that she felt that the whole time.
Yeah, I could also see it as, let's say, you do have a strong bond or a strong familial tie with someone, but this person betrays you and it's very, very hurtful.
Right.
But you still feel now obligation. Well, you're my brother. I can't hate you.
Yeah.
Actually, he's not your brother. You can hate him.
Ooh.
Oh.
Very interesting.
Now, all those stupid choices he made and he never listened to me, I can take charge. I can become my own person. Right. I'm no longer bound to this person who I was conflicted about. Now I don't have to be conflicted anymore. I have all the reason in the world to hate now.
Well, she will now create her own reasons to be conflicted now, I think.
Yes.
But at the moment, she feels liberated.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So.
That's very good.
Anyway.
I like that.
Good stuff. Go ahead.
And I do have a couple comments. In the next chapter, there are a couple of decisions that we're going to make to get the worst ending.
Okay, be as vague as you possibly can be.
And that's the thing. I'm having a lot of trouble explaining how. But basically, don't do things... when you're asked if you can ever fight Catiua, say you can't. And when you're suggested to... go to a castle unarmed through the front gate, just storm it. Attack it.
I look forward to how these scenarios will end up.
Okay, let me try to repeat that just so I understand.
And then what? Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with the last one. Go ahead.
Oh, and try to get characters of the same clan, characters of one, like if you have a Wallister or in your army, make sure he kills Wallisters. If you have a Galgastani, make sure he's killing Galgastani. And you have a Bakram, make sure he's killing Bakram, because that's going to reduce your hidden reputation stat with all of the Valerian clans, which is what we want to do. We want to tank it.
Okay.
So tank your reputation. Say that you will never fight Catiua when the options come up. And storm the castle. Don't try to go in unarmed.
Yeah, because Denam will suggest to you, I should go there unarmed through the front gate, and we'll avoid a battle. You want that battle to happen because we want you to be less popular. So you're going to be just do that.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the choices to make in Chapter 3. We will reconvene next week.
4.
Thank you for watching. Or, sorry, Chapter 4.
I'm sorry, one more thing. Chapter 4 is a really big chapter. There's so much extra content in it. We are going to try to avoid most of it in this run, just because there's just so much of it.
Okay.
But if you do visit the Pirate's Graveyard, if there's going to be a battle there, it's going to be really hard to save the character there. Let him die, but letting him die is going to make it easier when we go back for him later, just because you'll be able to change your level. It'll be a post-game thing, but if you go to Pirate's Graveyard, there's a rescue mission there. You can let that character die. We'll come back for him later.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to mention that I don't want to forget is that you do have the soundtrack of this game in the Warren Report, and that soundtrack actually contains developer commentary for each track. And I've been wanting to mention this for a couple of episodes. I keep forgetting, because there is a lot of somebody was just sending an interesting comments that's written into the commentary about Catiua.
Okay. Good.
But each song, if you go to the song, you press select, get the tooltip for the song. The developer's commentary for either the game or writing it the first time, remixing it, is in it, and it's a lot of interesting context about how they developed the game.
Okay.
But just don't miss out on it. Just wanted to let you know it's there, and we can take a look at it and see if there's anything valuable in there.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. We'll reconvene next week, finish the game, Chapter 4, and then we will discuss this ending of Neutral Route, and then we'll be returning to Chaos following that. So, see you guys next time.
Yeah, we'll discuss how the world system works after we beat this game.
Okay.
Peace out, everybody.
Soul fetch.